Hello and welcome to the I Am Evolution podcast. Spirit guide and soul sage Raina shares the knowledge of the universe to awaken and raise consciousness within. All of us have forgotten who we are and why we are here. But if we open our minds to new knowledge, we can use duality to achieve different perspectives to regain our unity. When we expand our awareness within, our possibilities become limitless. Let's begin to remember who we truly are and fulfill our mission and purpose to become conscious. And now, let's start the show.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm your host, Raina, and welcome to the I Am Evolution podcast. We just had some technical errors, so I'm sorry that we are starting 5 minutes late because apparently Streamlabs, once again, OBS Streamlabs decided to switch all of our settings around again and delete them. So what can you do? It's technology, right? For some reason, they always delete our settings, even though I just checked it 5 minutes ago. But anyways, guys, today is our last show for the next couple weeks because next week we will be in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I am super excited about this trip. Caleb and I are going, and we're meeting a couple new people. We met through somebody else we met at the South Florida Fair, and I'm just super excited about this because I just think it's going to be great stuff. But I was riding my bike today. Today was finally a great day. You know, it's funny because the last few days, actually like the last week, it's been raining nonstop here. So today was nice and sunny. So I got 6 miles in. I feel all refreshed, and I'm all ready for you guys tonight. So anyways, guys, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, D Live. I should know this, but I really don't sometimes. And the replays links are in the Facebook events. So today I want to talk. Today we're going to talk about social media. We've done a show like this before, and we were talking about is social media bad for you? Is it good? And today we're going to talk about beyond the relationships of social media because it seems to be a problem with everybody. First and foremost, if I didn't do what I did for business, I probably wouldn't be on social media myself. I am not a fan of social media. I think that there's a lot of problems with it, and we are going to discuss kind of like, is this really healthy for us as individuals, and is it healthy for us as societies? I mean, you look at it, and it just seems like the only reason why a lot of people are on there is the need for views, the need for attention, the need for, somebody, the likes and pluses and all this stuff. And it just seems like no matter what group you're in, no matter how spiritual or how supposedly open, how libertarianism it is or whatever, it just seems like it's chaotic. And when I go on social media, it like kind of like stresses me out a little bit because I had to several times in my life delete so many people because I realized that, and maybe this is something you've gone through too, but I've realized that a lot of times that when I go on there, people are just fighting all the time. And it's like, why? Like why do we need to feel that social media is where we got to vent? We want everyone in the world to see us venting all the time. We want to see us complaining all the time. We want to see us always and it's just like, I never got it. I never understood it. And, it's funny because at one time, I used to think that social media was invented to bring us together because that's the premise. That it's wishful thinking, right? It really is, right? That social media is here to bring us together, and we're gonna reconnect with people we've lost touch with, and on that aspect, yes, it's wishful dreaming. It's fun, and yes, I do have connections with certain people, but like I said, it just turns into fighting. Like, I have lost so much respect for people I've known my entire life in an instant, like a day or two of just watching them on social media, people who I used to think were wonderful and nice people. And then all of a sudden, years later, all of a sudden we're on social media now, and all of a sudden it's like a totally different person. And I'm like, who are you? Like, who are you? and I'm guilty of one of them. I'll admit I was guilty. There was a period back in 2010 to 2011 where I had some things happen to me, and some friends that were like that instance I told you a long time ago where people pretended to be in my life, but they were like actual scam artists and everything like that. And they were really trying to take my life, and not just like take my credit cards and stuff, but duplicate my life, use my medical licenses and everything. And then, I was in a toxic relationship at the time, and some toxic friends, and it all came crashing down. And so I used social media to vent my anger. And that's kind of when I started to understand a little bit. I was like, what we're doing is we've turned the idea of connection and togetherness into division and fighting. And it really is about status. It really is. Like, I see so many people on there, like I could say something and it could be the most, and I'm just saying this as a thing, and that like it could be the most divine inspiration I've ever said in my life, and it get no traction. And then someone else say it that's more popular, and all of a sudden there's 500,000 likes, and we have the same friends. And it's really like you kind of never leave high school or grade school, is it? Because at least, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not cool anymore. Who knows? I mean, but I always think that it's one of those things where I feel like it just promotes status. It just promotes popularity. If you're pretty and you're talented at something, well, then you have all these likes, you have all these people following you, and then you get the clicks, and I just feel like I'm always in high school all the time. And honestly, maybe we never grow out of that. Maybe that's something that is always going to be. But the one thing that I don't like, and I can put up with the clicks and everything, but the one thing that I don't like about social media is the violence it promotes. And I'm not here to sit there and say take down social media. I'm not one of those people. I grew up with cartoons like Tom and Jerry, Bugs Bunny, and all that constantly had violence in it. So I'm not talking about that. And I'm not here to say let's take down social media. But when I go on TikTok and I go on some of these social medias and Instagram and Facebook, and I click on the reels, because I like watching reels. I do. I like watching the animals and the lions and the zoos, the gators, all that stuff. And I like watching like space stuff and learning about, just like astrology, not astrology, but just any physics, anything like that, the universe. But I always, for some reason, the algorithm always seems to push me towards violence. Like all of a sudden I start getting like people with videos, like I'll be flipping through lines and, astronomy, and they'll be telling me about Saturn and all these different things. And then all of a sudden I'll start getting videos of violence where people are fighting amongst each other and swearing at each other and fighting at fast food restaurants, or someone hits someone, and I'm just like, and then all of a sudden I can't get out of it. And it makes me wonder what's really pushing the algorithms in social media, because someone will say, well, you must have clicked on it. Well, no. Well, first of all, I didn't know what it was probably the first 5 seconds, but then I swipe off as soon as I recognize it. But a lot of times I'm not even close to clicking on that. I don't click on violence. I don't click on that type of stuff because that stuff doesn't interest me. So it begs the question, like, what is the agenda of social media? And I would love to hear what you guys really think about this, because, do you guys think that social media is for people or against it? I get these surveys all the time that are always like, oh, so, and I always put a low rating on social media, because it's like, the premise is nice. Yeah. This idea of connection, but I feel like it tears a lot of people apart. I know so many relationships and friendships that are torn apart over social media. And to me, that's not beneficial to our growth. That's not beneficial to our society. And maybe that just goes to show maybe how young we are. as a society, as a species, that we can't handle. Maybe we're like really 2-3-year-olds, and we're getting this new thing and we don't know how to handle it. We're not mature enough to handle it, and so all we do is act out. I was a part of this vegan Facebook group, and I noticed that I'm there for like vegan recipes and stuff because I love that stuff. I'm a terrible cook. I don't know how to cook that well, but I try to look on these. I join these groups because I want to educate myself, and I can never educate myself because there's nothing about veganism that I see. It's either very political and righteousness. If you're not a vegan, then you're worthless and all this stuff, and vegans are better than and it's just like, and then the vegan stuff that I do see is always junk food. It's always cookies and cakes and all, and I'm just like, what about healthy stuff? Like teach me how to make some healthy dishes. And I've said that a few times, and it's funny because it became so political. My point to this is it became so political that someone made a comment. They're just like, you know what? I was like, I just want to let everyone know, I thank you for letting me join this group, but I'm leaving because, I'm not here for fighting. I'm not here for people being above everybody else. I just came to learn some recipes. And man, let me tell you something. She had over, I think when it was done, like 150 comments, and probably 98% of those comments were just bashing her and roasting her and just swearing at her and just being rude and mean and just bye Felicia and all this stuff and don't let the door. And it was like this is the veganism is supposed to be a way of life. It's not just about what you eat. It's about a way of living. And so I think that social media distorts what we're saying. And I actually posted a response to her, and it was nice. And I was just like, yeah, I agree. I came here to learn, blah, blah. And I said a couple key words to see if I could get a response from people, because I wanted to see what kind of, where people's minds are. And I actually got some nice responses. I was actually shocked. I was like, wow, people are there are some understanding people out there. But the attacks on this person just for saying, hey, you know what, I'm just not I think shows us where social media is forcing us to lose our connection with who we are. Because to me, and I'm sure you guys can disagree with this, maybe you'll agree with this, but honestly, I look at it as a way that people use it to act without consequence. I mean, think about this. Right now, if I didn't have this camera and I just had this microphone and this keyboard, I could be whoever I wanted to be. You wouldn't know what I look like. You wouldn't know and on this keyboard right here gives me all the power in the world to say and do what I want without consequences, because I could hide with VPNs. I could do all sorts of things to hide myself and lie on social media. I can be whatever I want to be, and there are no consequences. Because Facebook, sometimes bans people, but from what I hear, a lot of people get banned for silly stuff, and then the people that need to be banned don't ever get banned. I've had quite a few of my friends that say, I got banned for this. And when they showed me this, I started laughing. I was like, you got banned for that? That's what you got? And they're like, yeah. I was like, but people are on there doing actually way worse things, saying way worse. I've seen people threaten people, and they're still on social media. They still weren't removed from the groups and that. So it's so I start to question what social media really does for us. And for your parents, too. I know there's parents that watch this. I mean, what do you guys think about this? What do you guys, if you guys have, what age are your children? What age do they're always on social media? I mean, I see 8-year-olds with better phones than mine. I have an iPhone, but an older iPhone. Because to me, a phone's a phone. As long as it turns on, makes calls, I'm good. And, but it's but a brand new iPhone 14 Pro Maxes with decked out, 5 terabyte, drives. And they're on there, and their social media is taking selfies all the time, and it's and to me, I ask myself, what is this developing? What is this teaching our society? If we recognize, especially if we don't understand control, if we don't understand discipline, if we don't have things, because quite frankly, our society doesn't have things like honor and respect anymore. There's times I go out and I'll play pool and I'll be hanging out with people and they'll want to play me. They'll like yesterday I was playing pool with somebody at one of the places I go to play pool, and right in the middle of the game he just gets up, walks away, and goes and helps one of his friends working on the car, and I'm sitting there like waiting for him to shoot because I just took my shot. And finally I'm like, where is he? And someone told me, oh yeah, he's outside working on one of his friend's car, he's not going to be back. Like, we don't have respect anymore. We don't have honor anymore. And our society really doesn't see that there's anything amiss. They think this is okay. And so now when we have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all these all these social medias. I mean, the guy for TikTok was up against, I didn't follow it and I know, but our government was after him. And it's like, and so it's really like, what do we have to, where do we have to push the blame? Is there blame to be pushed, first of all? And so I guess what we have to ask is, what's the premise of social media and how we react with it, like interact with other people. So I would first want to understand, like, before I even start blaming, is it me? Is it somebody else? Is it society? Should there be, like, I am not a person of control. I used to be a libertarian. I walked away from all forms of politics because I just want to be free from everything. But I still believe in freedom. I still believe in freedom of choice. And yeah, you may say some things that are really rude and disrespectful, and you have right to do that because you have freedom of choice. But at the same time, there's, when you have this thing called social media, should it be monitored? Should it not be? Should it, where are the defining lines that because obviously humans can't, society can't regulate itself. If there was no, I'm not a fan of, there's only should be one police in this whole country, and that's the sheriff by the Constitution. That's the only legal police force in here. Other than that, there should be but at the same time, a lot of my friends were like, yeah, we should police ourselves, and I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't, because look at how we act with other things, and if everybody policed themselves, there'd be murders and do you think murders happen? People would feel the right. Well, you aggravated me, and so I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to police myself. So, it can go down the rabbit hole many times. But I want to ask you guys, like, why do you guys use social media? What is the purpose of it? And how do you use it? I want to use it for education. I want to use it to show the world that there is still love and compassion and understanding. And I get it. These topics aren't popular. Me preaching to you guys right now is not popular. Saying, oh yeah, I want to talk about love and compassion and understanding. Oh, you new agey, witchy witch type of person. And especially in our type of, Puritan-based society here in America. But people go and seek out the violence on there. And what is the attraction to that? What is the attraction to the violence to it and the draw to it? Because a lot of times, like I said, I used to have over 1,000 friends, and several times I've had to delete everybody and start all over and start building up people again and start seeing what, who's around. And I tell people, look, if that's social media shows you who you truly are. A long time ago, I made a post and I said, show me your social media and I'll show you who you are. And a lot of people looked at it and said, yeah, that's true. And then they'd go on and start posting nasty stuff. And I'm like, just take a look for one moment. And I want you guys to do this after tonight's show. I want you to go and take a look at your social medias. See what you're posting. are you posting are you constantly taking selfies and constantly trying to prove that you're good looking and you're liked and feed your insecurities? Are you constantly fighting with people? Are you constantly or are you using a platform like this, like we are, to show people and educate people that there are people out there that want to promote, the betterment of society, that education and kindness and respect and honor are to be valued rather than people fighting all the time. I get it. It's much more exciting to people fighting, but at the same time, why do you want to see people hurt? To me, I don't want to see people hurt. I have I grew up in that. I grew up in violence. I grew up with that, and I don't like to see that. And I grew up in the South Side of Chicago with gangs and everything, and I saw and I witnessed, and I've even been a part of that. And it's not something to be praising. And so I just look at it that, whatever we're trying to post, it seems like it's really a justification, right? I mean, because it seems like it's a justification of how we feel. And to me, that's what social media is all about. It's well, hey, I'm feeling this way. If I'm angry, I'm going to post anger. I'm going to, try to show that my way is better than yours and I'm right and you're wrong. And, and I'm just going to show, and I'm going to create this image that I want people to see, that I'm strong, that I'm not insecure. And so all these type of ideas, they justify the mind and perspective of the user to be right in their perspective. So this is something that we look and we have to be, okay, hold on one second. We got a comment from, okay, love it. Do you think social media keeps us from understanding or being aware of ourselves? Thank you, Earth Lover. Yes and no. For a lot of people, I don't think people are aware themselves to be the first place. If you tell someone, well, look at yourself, that it scares them. They don't like to see themselves. And it's funny because the one thing that I say is always go back. Every day on Facebook, they have memories, that you could look at for that particular day. And it'll show you from the time you started Facebook, every day, every post you ever made on that day for the past, 10, 12, 14 years. And I think that if you want to become aware, it gives a good reflection of stages in your life, and those memories and things that you could see show you where you're at and who you are and what you've been doing. But at the same time, most people don't see that in themselves. So there are many people that are oblivious to the way they're acting on social media. And again, back to what I was just saying, the justification of the way they're acting is right in their perspective of their mind, because they're fueled by anger or grief or whatever it is. So I do think that social media keeps us from understanding ourselves and being aware of ourselves, but it can also help us, because it helped me. I started one day when I was getting out of my anger phase, after I let out all the steam and all the hurt and everything. I looked at some of my memories and I went this is that I said that, that's terrible. I was like, that's terrible. Oh geez, I didn't expect that. And so now I look at my memories every single day, and I reflect on where I was at that time, and I help myself become more aware, because now I'm mindful every day of I post. So, but thank you so much, Earth Lover 333333. I really appreciate your question, and that's an awesome question. So, but guys, so the Nasty Neighbor trial, remember I told you guys about the Nasty Neighbor trial? And if you are not part of sessions, we have 20-minute shows that are on Saturdays. Most of them are pre-recorded, some of them are live. But we have we have a show called Sessions on Saturdays, and I was talking about the Nasty Neighbor trial, and I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I'm big into true crime type of stuff, court TV, ID channel, etc., forensic files, because to me, I analyze all the psychological aspects of everybody. But this brings us to this show right here is like, okay, so this kid, I forgot Zachary Latham, used TikTok to antagonize neighbors that they didn't get along. So he's like, fine, since you're not, since you guys aren't, I don't like you and you're bugging me and I'm bugging you, I'm going to use TikTok now. And so he started using his phone, recording them, antagonizing them. They antagonized him. And it was just like this battle until one day, all of a sudden, he turned 18. And once they found out he turned 18, the dad and the two brothers went over on his property and tried to beat the crap out of him because he was disrespecting them, and supposedly he hit the wife, but there was really no proof of that. And the guy and the dad who went over there ended up getting stabbed to death, and he was actually found not guilty for self-defense because it was on video, and you saw these guys so mad rushing to his house, getting out of their truck, and all three of them came chasing him. This whole time, the wife of the dad and the brothers are filming this, and unfortunately someone lost their life. So where again do we draw the line? Where is the act of understanding and the responsibility? Is it TikTok's responsibility? Is it Facebook's responsibility? Or is it our responsibility? We as a society have to learn to start growing up a little bit and start understanding, that these type of interactions aren't okay. And it came out that one of the reasons why he kept doing it was because he was getting a lot of likes, a lot of followers, and people were egging him on and promoting him. And the more likes and the more like, yeah, she's a Karen, she's this, and the more comments, in favor of him, and that the more he did it. And so our society says it's okay for you to be rude to somebody. It's okay for you to antagonize someone. It's okay for you to use social media as your platform to embarrass, humiliate, shame someone, and the law protects you. And the law protects you because, rightfully so. It's a tragedy all around that anybody lost a life. But I kind of don't blame, I don't promote violence at all, but I don't blame the dad and the brothers going after him, especially if he supposedly hit the wife and then he's egging him on and constantly doing it. There's only so much people can take. But again, at the same time, I don't promote violence, and it's like, well, then you should have more control, understanding that he's only 17 and he's using social media. And so there's like this whole aspect that you really have to understand. And this is why I think that we really have to take a good look at social media. I love the fact that we're supposed to have freedom of speech. Yes, I'm using my air quotes because we really don't have it anymore. We're supposed to have freedom of speech. I like the fact that social media is supposed to bring us together and do these things, but it really takes us out of, of social interactions and getting to know like people. Because in my day, we used to talk. We knew our neighbors. We used to play at night until the streetlights came on. Once the streetlights came on, we knew that we had to go home and do this stuff and that's what we did. And we didn't have cell phones. We didn't do that stuff. But now all I see is like when I go to the places I hang out, especially like the kava bars and stuff. And again, I'm not judging. Do what you want. If that's what you want to do with your life, hey, go ahead, have at it. But I see the disconnection in society because one of my friends and one of the new girls that works with us now was talking about doom scrolling. Like she sees a lot of people, and I was like, doom scrolling? What's doom scrolling? And she kind of laughed and she's like, well, the kids call it mindlessly scrolling right now. I guess it's boredom where you just, and I probably do it at times with my reels, but I'm trying to educate myself. And I guess they just go on Facebook, Instagram, and just scroll and just look at one thing after another without really getting into it. And I started laughing, and I was like, doom scroll. I was like, hey, I guess I'm not being as popular as I thought I was, or as cool as I thought I was, because I didn't know what doom scrolling was. And but yeah, so I guess it's a way that, and I looked at it, and once I started looking at it, it's like, well, it's what are you distracting yourself from? Because if you're sitting in a place, and I get it, I had anxiety, maybe these people have anxiety and they want to be out, but it's a way for them to be out and maintain their mind without feeling anxious. Some people, I'm sure that's the case. Some people, I think, have become so attached to this fake world of social media that the real world, they don't know how to handle it anymore. And I believe that truly 100%, because I see people I go to have a conversation with and they don't know how to have a conversation. But when I'm on social media and I say something, they respond, man, they'll write a book, they'll write a 10-page novel, APA style, double spaced, everything perfectly cited, everything. And I'm like, why can't you talk to me like like that in person? And so I think that it does affect our relationships. It affects how we interact with people. And I think that, it's this illusion that social media is making us happy because it's stimulating the dopamine receptors and allowing us to produce that dopamine in our body because we're constantly, looking for the next big thing. It's shiny, it's bright, and I think it's doing that. And I think that that's why we're becoming disconnected, because life can't offer that. If every day I see some cool video and some, 4K video of all this stuff, and I'm constantly having this stimulation on social media, well, what does life have to offer? If you tell me to go in nature and look at trees and smell the roses and stuff like that, well, that's not as exciting as a 4K video, So, I really think that it's really something we as a society have to start understanding. And unfortunately, as if I was 18, 19 growing up in this situation, honestly, I don't know how I'd be. If I was the way I am now, have been growing up the way, I wouldn't be on social media much. But again, if I grew up in a different era, a different generation, would I be following that pattern? And that's something I've asked myself many a times. Would I be the same person? Because even today, I was riding my bike over at Whole Foods over here, and I was trying to ride I just came up on the sidewalk and there was no one around, and one lady started walking, and she's walking on her phone looking like this, and I'm sitting out there slowing down. I'm like, hey lady, on your right, coming on your right. Couldn't even hear me, just on her phone scrolling like this. And I'm like, lady, and I scream, I'm on your right. And didn't even, it was so out of it, so locked into this, that I almost hit her. I had to almost jump off my bike and fall into the bushes. And then she just kind of looked up for a second and put her phone back down and went like this, I didn't even exist. Like whatever was in here was so important, so that it didn't matter if I crashed into her. It didn't matter if I crashed and hurt myself, just zombified. And I was like, wow, that's something I'm going to use for tonight's show, definitely. Because it does change you. I truly believe that. I really believe that social media changes us, but it's if you want it to change you. People have. I think that's the biggest debate besides, is social media bad or good? And I know we're just over 30 minutes. I want to do a couple more points. But in my personal opinion, I do think social media changes us. I think it's changed our society. Now, whether or not, again, there's no good or bad, because that's my no words. But in most people's minds, there's good and bad. So whether you're going to use it to benefit your life, like we do, we try to promote this stuff, we try to, teach people, educate people. And there's people out there that, I like some of the astronomers that are on the reels and their Facebook pages, and they talk about all this stuff and all this science stuff, and I'm big into that. Platforms like that, if you're using it for that, hey, great. That's something that interests me. But unfortunately, I think most of society uses it, and it reinforces. I know some beautiful people, both men and women, and they are so insecure, and they're on there constantly taking selfies and doing all this, and and selfie, and and they're so insecure. They need those likes, and they get upset when they don't get those likes, because that's a knock on their on who they are. And it's funny because it's like they look like they understand that they're beautiful people, but if we need so much attention and so many likes to reinforce that we're beautiful, that we're liked and loved, then that psychologically and physiologically changes our brain chemistry and our wiring. And that teaches you association. Well, in order for me to be loved, I need to have this. In order for me to be liked, I need to have this. If people are gonna, if I'm beautiful, well, then people are gonna tell me I'm beautiful. And so I gotta constantly reinforce myself. It's almost kind of like a drug addict, right? And again, I'm not judging anybody, but someone who's on drugs that struggles with that. And it's like, if someone is struggling with an addiction problem and they got to have it, they got to have their next fix. And I think that social media can be very addictive for a lot of people. I guarantee you, if I did more research on this than I really want to, because honestly, I think I really don't, I'm not going to do years of research on social media. But I guarantee you there's lots of research on there that social media is very addictive. I know people that can't get off their phones. I know people that have to check their phones every 2 seconds. When I became sick, and this is one of the last things I'm going to mention before I think we go, because we have so many notes here, but we're not going to get into it all tonight. But when I became sick and I sat on the couch after the first month of watching TV and watching all the movies and being like, oh, this is fun, I don't have to work, it got really boring for me. And I started checking social media, because now it was like, okay, I'm sitting on the couch, I can't talk. It was really like a year and a half later, to be honest with you. It wasn't a month. And so like a year and a half later, I started getting bored with myself, and I was like, okay, well, I love to meditate, but I can't meditate because I'm not feeling well, and all I got to watch is TV. So I started checking social media, and I started checking it more, and and I got in a habit where I had to check it like every 2 seconds. And I was like, whoa. So now I purposely find time where I put down my phone, I plug it in over here in the studio, and I go do my thing. I go outside, I go, I sit, watch TV, or I'll go places, and I purposely make sure I walk away from my phone, because I want to make sure I'm not addicted to this thing. I used to carry it around a lot because I was thinking, well, since I'm ill and very ill, if something happens to me and I can dial 911, I can do that. But now I'm at the point where I know I'm healthy, or a lot healthy, where I can't, nothing's going to happen. So I don't need, this isn't my safety blanket anymore. I don't need, nothing on social media is going to be life-changing that I need to know right this second. This phone is not my life support, but we tend to think that our social media is our life support. We're going to miss the next big thing. Even in business, oh, you got to be on social media every second. You got to be on social media. You got to constantly post. And it's like, and that was it's still one of my biggest drawbacks. I don't like to, I post on social media about the podcast. I post on, some of the quotes and some of the teachings, but I am just not one that likes to just, I got to be there. I got to be hip. I got to be on it. I got to be I'm just not one of those people. But I don't know, guys. I think I'm going to stop there, because I kind of went over a lot of things already and everything, the algorithms and everything, and, how people attack you, everything like that. And I think this is a good place to stop. But honestly, like, what do you guys think of social media? Do you guys think of yourself as addicted to social media? Do you think it's toxic for society? Are you one of those people that engage in the toxicity and the hate and the drama of society? Are you one of those that try to use it for, to inspire people? Because I think that would be wonderful if more people woke up and said, you know what? Yeah, I'm toxic right now. Maybe the problem is me. Maybe I'm complaining too much. Maybe I'm mean on social media. If someone says something that I disagree with, I don't have to attack them. I don't have to belittle them. Let's promote people. Let's try to understand them, even if I don't agree with them, and see. Because there's been times in my past where I didn't agree with something, or someone said something that may have triggered something, and I became irate, and I consciously stopped myself. I said, whoa, okay, I want to say this, but I'm not going to, because what I really want to do is be this idea. I want to promote this and I want to do that. And if I give in to this, and eventually that kind of stuff went away where I just, hey, I'm on social media. This is what I do. You like it, great. If you don't, that's okay, and that I'm not for everybody, and I know that. But I would love to hear you guys' comments about everything. And really, just if you guys have any input or any other points of views maybe I missed, I would love to hear them. So let me find my little thing over here. Oh, I'm dropping everything on the floor, as always, right? But anyways, guys, thank you so much for being on tonight's show. And if you guys found this of value, please share this podcast. The only way we're going to grow and help others and reach others is by you guys helping us grow as well. I truly appreciate you guys for listening to the show and being part of the show. I really do. I know a lot of people say that, but I really, really do appreciate you being a part of this show from my heart. So if you guys would help us out in any ways, I would really appreciate that. You can visit us on our Facebook at facebook.com/IamEvolution podcast. Our YouTube is youtube.com/@IamEvolution. Our TikTok is at IamEvolution33. Visit my website, soulandspiritguide.com. Sign up for our newsletter to receive VIP access to hidden shows and to shows like Sessions. Sessions is normally $6.99 a month, but if you sign up for our newsletter and you get all the exciting stuff, we give a special VIP access code for all our newsletter subscribers, and you'll get that show free every single week. So, but the money that we do use goes to funding all this stuff, as always, and stuff like that. But, email me with any questions at IamEvolution33@gmail.com. And always remember to believe in yourself. It's not our abilities or our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.